What's up guys, Josh Mosman here, and we have the brand new 2023 KTM 300 two-stroke motocross specific bike. We got electric starting up here, we got the map switch just like we have on the 4-strokes between map 1 and map 2. This bike is absent of a kickstarter. There's no coat hanger on the side of the motorcycle, so no kickstarting this bike. We're gonna be electric starting it. It has the same engine basically as the 250 two-stroke with just a bigger bore to get it up to that 300 cc's. Electric power valve is gonna be very interesting on this motorcycle. You're not gonna be adjusting it with that Kreft power valve tuner that we always use on our 250 two-strokes. Electric power valve is going to be very interesting on this motorcycle. Also, the biggest topic about the 300 two-stroke is the EFI fuel injection now, no jetting, no air screw. We're not going to be messing with any of that kind of stuff on the two-stroke. You are going to be pre-mixing your fuel before you toss it in there. It's not going to be like the transfer port injection TPI off-road two-strokes that KTM and Husqvarna has had. You will be doing your own pre-mix, putting it in your 300 two-stroke. It's gonna be very interesting to ride on the track. We are riding here at Redbud today on this brand new motorcycle. Excited to break it down for you guys. We're only gonna get a few laps for it. This is a pre-production model. The next generation, or the current generation 300 two-stroke that we're gonna be racing, we won't get that for a couple more months. It'll be coming later in the 2022 calendar year, but excited to break this bike down for you guys. We got some GoPro, and we're gonna see how the throttle response is with the new fuel injection on this 300 two-stroke. That's what I'm most interested in. How easy is this bike gonna be to ride, and how's the mapping gonna be on day one? All right guys, a lot of fun riding the two-strokes today. We got to ride the 300 SX two-stroke, we got to ride the 250 SX two-stroke, and we got to ride the 125 SX two-stroke. Now this video is more of an overview video and more of a show you guys what's going on and talk about the technology behind these bikes. It's not our traditional tested video. That's gonna be coming out later this year. Why do you ask? Well, these two-strokes are pre-production models. This is not the final production two-stroke that you will be able to buy at your dealerships. So if you go to a KTM dealer right now to buy a 300 SX, you're gonna be pre-purchasing one that's not going to come out until probably September. So KTM told us today we might be able to get some test bikes in August, and then these bikes will be on the showroom floors in September. However, the 2023 4-strokes, the 450, 350, 250Fs, those are going to be available to buy right now, end of May. Those things are going to be on the showroom floors. But this video, we're talking about the two-strokes, and it was a lot of fun today. So KTM brought out a couple of their engineers from Austria to talk about electronic fuel injection that they added onto these two-stroke models for the first time. Also to talk about the electric power valve and the electric starting on these bikes. So one topic is that KTM didn't switch from traditional carburetor jetting to EFI tuning and fuel injection because it was easier for the consumers, because it's going to be less of a hassle at the track, because you don't have to jet it. They did it because they wanted the bikes to continue to evolve, continue to improve, and continue to get faster, better throttle response, and overall make them easier to ride. And that's the big topic about the 300 SX and the 250 SX. We didn't get a crazy amount of time today, so I'm not gonna give you guys a full-on blessing on exactly how these bikes work, but I can tell you that they are very smooth and they don't have the hard hit that the KTM 250 two-stroke had previously. Originally, I rode the bike in map 1, the white map, and the 300 two-stroke, so smooth and really easy to ride. No hard hit anywhere on the power band, not a traditional two-stroke where it's kind of lugging and then comes on strong. Like a traditional KTM, it was very smooth, very easy to ride, very mellow, and very easy to control in the corners. But it wasn't very exciting for a 300 two-stroke. Then I switched into map 2, the green map. That's where the power really was on both the 300 and the 250 SX two-strokes. Big power found and a big difference found in the mapping. So talking a little bit about the electronic power valve, why would they need an electronic power valve? Well, with their new fuel injection and with their new engine, the electronic power valve, and with the electronic power valve, they're able to determine by the mapping when the power valve opens and closes. So the power valve is really what's making the bike handle so differently from map 1 to map 2. Map 1, power valve is closed a lot more, but map 2, it opens up much easier, much quicker to make it a lot more aggressive. So that's really why they added the electronic power valve. It looks pretty exotic and wild off the front left-hand side of the engine, but I think it's fun to ride on the track, and it also just makes it easier to ride because when it's lower in the RPMs, it can close the power valve. When it's higher in the RPMs, it can open it. And that power valve is adjusting how much air and what kind of restriction is going on the air as it leaves the exhaust, as it goes out of the exhaust ports. And so with that being closed, it makes it a lot more mellow. Coming out of corners, rolling on the throttle, it's a lot easier to get going. And with it open, a lot more exciting, a lot more aggressive, a lot harder hit, a lot more snap. So electronic power valve really allows the ECU to tune the power and allows you to get a big difference between map 1 and map 2. Personally, map 2 was where it's at first half of the moto, but second half of the moto, once you're getting tired, about 10 minutes in, 15 minutes in, depending on your endurance, map 1 will definitely be the ticket because it's a lot easier to ride. More on the fuel injection, the EFI system that they got on these two-strokes. Gone are the days when you have to mess with the air screw. Gone are the days where you have to mess with jetting on your KTM two-stroke. And personally, I think that's a lot easier for me, and I'm happy about it. It's not a TPI, transfer port injection, so you will have to pre-mix your gas before you put it in. Other than that, it's just a lot easier to get on the bike and get going. No matter what your elevation is, no matter what the weather is, this bike is gonna run a lot better and require a lot less tuning at the tracks. Also, the electric starting was weird on these two-strokes, but it was pretty fun. You had to turn the throttle quite a bit to get the electric starter to pick up the engine and get it started. So that was a little bit different than a four-stroke, but overall, really cool. The fuel injection also has 2 injectors, which is pretty unique for this motorcycle. The first injector opens when the throttle just starts cracked at kind of the first part of the throttle when you're just rolling it on. The second injector kicks in to where they're both going and they're both flowing fuel higher in the RPM. So that's one kind of cool note about the 2 injectors is that they're able to get smoother, better connection off the crack of the throttle, and then throw all the beans at it once you're halfway and wide open. So that's always been a big difference between Yamaha two-strokes and KTM two-strokes. Yamahas have always been easy to roll on. You needed less clutch, easier to ride, smoother through the power bands. The YZ 250 two-stroke or the KTM 250 SX has always been a little bit sluggish off the bottom, and then it hits really hard and gets going, which is better traditionally for racers, but a little bit harder to hold on to. This motorcycle feels like it kind of splits the difference or even becomes a little bit more like a YZ 250 or even easier to ride because it's just such a mellow power band. It's not hard hitting like it was before. The handling on these new models, they have the all new frame, which is quite a bit stiffer. It also has the new subframe, new swing arm. Pretty much everything on the chassis is brand new. It's the same stuff that we saw on the 250 and 450 factory edition models that we've been testing and riding a lot these past few months. What it does, basically the biggest trait that I can tell you guys is that it's stiffer, and it's also got an anti-squat chassis where basically they rotated the engine on the two-strokes just like they did on the four-strokes to centralize mass and reduce chain torque so that the bike doesn't squat down as much when you get on the throttle. And for me today, watching other guys ride these two-strokes, and for me riding them myself, it's definitely not diving in the rear like previous models have. And I personally liked that on the older generation bikes. I liked the flex, I liked a little bit softer feeling, a little more comfortable. These ones definitely hold up a lot more, and that carries over from the 4-strokes to the 2-strokes. Also, as for the suspension, they come with the same WP exact air forks, and the 2-strokes compared to 4-strokes, 2-strokes forks were way soft, way too soft for me today here at Redbud. The track was amazing, super fun to ride, and we had good traction. And what that means was when you have good traction, you're on the brakes hard, and the front wheel is sticking, you're dropping, your forks are compressing a lot easier. So forks on the 2-strokes were a lot softer than they were on the 4-strokes, but overall, still fun day. So these 2-strokes are gonna be available to buy in late August or September. We also rode the 125 SX, got a couple little GoPro videos on that bike as well. That one is brand new and very exciting. It has the same mods as the 250 and 300s that I just talked about, with the electronic power valve, electric starting, fuel injection, and the all-new chassis that this bike has. The 125, comparing it to the 250 and 300 and 450 and 350 4-strokes that we rode today, obviously it's lower on power. Even here we have deeper dirt, so it's hard to really appreciate how fast the 125 was. But I have been riding a lot of 125s back home, and this new one is definitely fast. I know this is also pre-production, so the KTM engineers are still working on mapping for 125, mapping for 250 and 300s. So although we rode and tested them today, they could be a little bit different once we get these bikes back in California, the 2-strokes, couple months down the road. So overall, really fun day. Hope you guys enjoyed this kind of brief overview of the new 2-strokes from KTM. The 300 SX is the most exciting model and the brand new model for KTM. That's what we spent more of our time on. But the 250 SX 2-stroke and the 125 2-strokes were a blast to ride as well. For more videos, check out motocrossactionmag.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the bell button to get notifications whenever we release new videos. And check out our 2023 KTM 450 tested video on our YouTube channel as well. Thank you guys for tuning in.